We're back with another program looking at aviation and anything else, maybe a gadget a bit later on or whatever. And it's Paul Brennan in Wellington and
Martin Noakes in Wellington again.
windy Wellington.
Very windy Wellington.
Been windy this week, hasn't it? Ooh. Yeah, great action down there at the runway, I would imagine.
Pity we didn't get down there.
No, well, it was too windy.
Yes.
You know, it gets too windy, they cancel everything and there's nothing to be seen. So, didn't you fly Austrian?
I did.
Weren't you really critical of...
I was dissing them big time because I had an awful flight in Austrian from Narita, Tokyo to Vienna once, and this last trip, yes, I was scheduled to fly Austrian, also Narita to Vienna, and I got on the plane and I must say it was fantastic. They've completely redone the interior.
They heard you.
They must have. Nice comfortable seats and the best in-flight entertainment system I've ever used.
Oh, wow.
It was really good.
What's so special about it?
High definition screens, even in economy.
Yeah.
And what they've done is each seat, like in Air New Zealand, if you're very unlucky, and it can happen every second row, you end up with a box, like a little PC in your footwell.
Has that got the...
which is the
interface
server
in it?
for I think it's a server for 18 seats.
Okay, and if you're unlucky enough to be the poor bugger...
Yeah, and there's a fair chance that you will be unlucky.
Yeah.
Well, on the system that Austrian, it's from an American company, I forgot the name, I'll dig it up. They've put memory in each screen. So basically there's an equivalent of an iPad in each seat with its own
case
storage.
Right into the
exactly.
seat.
So the selection is not huge, but it's in the seat.
Wow.
So the response is instant. So you're watching a movie, you think, I'd like to go and watch, look at the map. So I'll stop the movie, go to the map, have a look at that, go back to the movie. There's no queuing, there's no nothing.
No
Bang,
lag.
you're straight back in.
Brilliant.
And it looks like it's Android based, and so it was very responsive. It was brilliant. I actually wrote them an email, the company.
Oh, you even wrote them an email.
Yeah, I said, that's brilliant. The way it should be. Simple and responsive.
They'll go looking for that other podcast now to hear what you you said.
But no, the seats, it's amazing. They've put sort of slimline seats in.
Yep.
So you felt like you had more room. It was altogether pretty good.
Oh, good.
But then I had the opposite experience from Munich to Shanghai in a ropey old Lufthansa A340. It wasn't ropey, but it had seen
really?
better days.
Bit of a thrashing.
Yeah, terrible in-flight entertainment.
But that's not like Lufthansa. They're top end usually, aren't they?
Pretty basic in economy.
Oh,
and they don't have to do much because it was absolutely packed.
Was it? And that's what, 400?
Yeah, about 400 people. Interesting, the toilets are downstairs in economy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you go downstairs into this room and there's like 10 toilets.
Is it safe when there's turbulence?
I guess. There are actually little sort of strap-in areas down there, like even if you're waiting.
Yeah, right.
You can secure yourself, yeah.
Well, you've got one on the loose seat as well, maybe.
Well, I think they're having to put them back in, aren't they? They used to have them.
You'd hate to think where they'd been.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, so some good feedback then for Austrian Airlines.
No, it was good. It was good.
What about food?
Good way to
like that?
it was really good. A good way to get to Europe.
So you'd and it was a good deal too, wasn't it?
It was a very good
cheap.
deal. Yeah, and good connections. Austria to go anywhere.
So let's look at some of the Kiwi news around. I see another 7-3 has headed offshore. ZKSJC. Off to Bolivia via Opelika, Florida.
What'll they be doing in Florida? Fixing it up?
Maintenance check and new paint. Though Opelika is a notorious destination for being pulled to pieces.
Yeah, they generally only go there once, eh?
Exactly, and never came out. In fact, I've been there a few times, and I was there, I think it was 06, and there was a DC-10 Air Liberté. Would that be it? Is that how the French say it?
Yeah, Liberté.
DC-10 is like that airline was one of those low-cost holiday airlines. Yep. Later on, I'm looking around, back home on the Google to sort of find out more about the aircraft. Blown me down as one of the Air New Zealand ones.
Oh, wow.
So that's where it ended up.
And that was the end of that then?
Yeah, that's right. There's a whole bunch of them. They were even wrecking Antonov.
So basically anything.
Yeah. Classic thing. They take all the parts off them, then their big claw thing comes in and
chops it up.
Yeah, chops it up. Anyway, it looks like though there's more life in ZKSJC. I think I've flown on this one a few times. You probably have.
You probably have, yeah.
It was the one with the all blue tail.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense, and started off I think for Freedom Air when they started the services from Palmerston North to Australia. That aircraft.
When it was Palmerston North International Airport.
Exactly. Long time ago now, and probably never to be repeated. What do you make of this? We've talked about this a few times. Air New Zealand receiving Australian government approval to increase its shareholding in Virgin Australia by another 3%.
Yeah, take them up to what, just over 25% or
Yeah.
nearly 26.
Well, that's a quarter, isn't it?
Yeah,
And that's a few spots on the board and quite a say in how you do things.
I guess. You wonder what they're going to do with it.
Well, what would you do?
I would start using those 777s to fly to other places via Australia, places Air New Zealand doesn't currently fly to. You know, fly you to Melbourne on the Air New Zealand plane or the
Right.
Virgin plane, and then put you on the 777 off to South Africa or wherever they go, where
Yes.
Air New Zealand doesn't currently fly to. I would expect them to be more complementary than they are. At the moment, it just looks as though Air New Zealand's bought themselves an Australian network. That's it.
Hey, they did that before. Look what happened. It turned, how can you say it nicely on the radio? You know,
Didn't go well.
no, it tanked.
Yes, I
In
think.
fact, it nearly took them out if it wasn't for the government.
Yes, so I'd be looking for them to be a bit more creative with that partnership and actually turn it into a partnership and not just access to someone else's network.
Yeah.
Given the rights that New Zealand has, for that 25% that they've purchased for however millions it cost, couldn't they have put two 737s in Australia and flown them around with their New Zealand branding? Or flown to extra cities in Australia?
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. It's just I'm not sure what it's getting.
Yeah.
You're not getting a lot of influence, and it's costing a lot of money.
You're getting quite a bit of influence
20,
as a block.
25%.
As a block.
And Etihad's also buying 25%.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a scenario. When the New Zealand government chooses to sell off X amount of shareholding in Air New Zealand, as they have vowed to do, who buys it?
Wow.
Etihad?
I wouldn't be surprised, actually.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, because then they'd get New Zealand's 25% share of Virgin as well, you see. So
Up that share,
Etihad gets 25%.
more influence.
Yeah, they buy into Air New Zealand in a big way, not just 25%. Then they end up controlling more than 25% of Virgin. Now that's the end game, isn't it? Etihad could theoretically, if they invested in Air New Zealand, end up controlling theoretically 50% of Virgin.
Maybe, or close to it.
Yeah, or close to it.
Well, I mean, once you're over 40, even if, I mean,
Yes.
you are the one, you're going to always make the play,
Yes.
you know, and you're probably going to get your way.
Yes, and if Etihad's buying 25%, or I think they're applying to buy up to 22%, New Zealand's never going to be in a position to buy out Etihad. It's only going to go one way. Etihad is based in Abu Dhabi, which is one of the classier Emirates, which makes up the UAE. So it's basically a sister airline to Emirates.
Oh, okay. Boy, it's all coming out of there, isn't it? That air traffic must be so busy in that area now. Those countries are so active. Wow. This is no surprise because we said when we were talking about Hawaiian Airlines coming in here, they've been putting out some fantastic fares. It's obviously a great service, and we've talked about the one-stop through Hawaii to some of those other cities, all the way to New York, I think,
Yep.
on Hawaiian. Air New Zealand's fighting back. They're increasing services to Hawaii, also other Pacific Islands, and back to Bali.
I've always been a little surprised that Hawaii hasn't been sold as the gateway to the US from New Zealand, because they could run relatively small planes.
They're saying that Hawaii, this is the airline, Hawaii is an ideal school holiday destination. So that's the pitch, isn't it?
Yeah, the time difference isn't that big. It's just,
Wealthy
it's just,
Kiwis,
it's just a day behind.
yeah, with a couple of kids and
Well, you wouldn't have to be that wealthy. It's probably cheaper than here to have a holiday.
maybe. Yeah, it
Most
doesn't-
places are.
They're saying there'll be a 40% capacity increase on the Auckland to Bali service next year over and above earlier services. So they must be putting on new aircraft, bigger aircraft.
Yeah.
777-200.
Maybe the 200s, yeah, as they get... Because do they have any more 300s on the way? I think there
Maybe
are a
one
few-
or two.
Yeah.
So that'll be twice weekly from May 31st to 19th October next year, Auckland.
Well, isn't
to
that when the
Den
78...
Pasar.
Isn't that when... Oh, but for Hawaii, isn't that when the 787-9 comes on next year?
Maybe. Yeah, June 16th to 25th October next year for Hawaii.
Yeah. Well, that'll be the
4
787.
services a week, up to 5 in the week after that period,
Yeah.
which must be the absolute peak. Don't know if you want to go to Bali, though. I mean, poor old Chappelle Corby.
Oh, she's been set free.
Well, have they?
Yeah, she's come up for parole.
Well, they talk about it, but
No, I think she's... last I heard, she was on her way out.
they're brutal people.
I don't know, it seemed a bit of a strange prison when people could swan in and swan out and she had relatives staying with her and all this type of thing.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an odd setup.
Well, you know, there's that grandmother who's on death row for
Yeah.
some, not even that much.
Well, a couple of kilos.
Well, that's not much. I've lost 21.
They think it's a lot.
No, but it's brutal.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I don't understand about these people, they know that Indonesia is really strict on drugs.
I know. I
They're like,
understand
it's just stupid.
But still, it doesn't give you the right to be, brutal and disproportionate in your punishment.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah, I
I
guess they think it does.
Yeah, well, you can go there, you can choose not to. It's up to you. All right, and Cathay Pacific launches premium economy class. Last week it was Hong Kong to New Zealand. That's interesting.
Everyone's going premium economy now, aren't they?
Yeah, because business is just too expensive
Well,
for
business
the
has
masses.
become first.
Yeah.
Premium economy, yeah, it's become what business was when it very first started,
Yeah.
so slightly more. But what I always find odd, though, is Air New Zealand on their newer planes has got those fancy premium economy seats that I've flown in them a couple of times. They're okay. They're funky looking. They're fine.
Yeah.
But on the older planes, what they've done is they've taken the seats that are traditionally at the front row of the plane in economy.
Yep.
And space them out a bit more, but no more width, just more legroom.
Yeah. So you can go back further, or
Well, there's just 36 inches
Oh,
of legroom or whatever. But the armrests don't fold up because they're seats where the table and the monitor are stored in the armrest. So if there's no one next to you, you can't fold up the armrest.
oh, that's a bugger.
You can't lie down if the
Yeah,
row.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
recently I came back from Shanghai
Oh, that'll get up
in
your
a
nose.
767, and I could have upgraded to premium economy, but I'd asked at the gate how full's the plane.
Right.
They said, it's only about 50%
So you just took a
full.
regular economy row.
So I took a regular row,
the thing
folded,
up, yeah.
and I felt sorry for the poor guys all sitting in premium economy because premium economy was packed, and they were all sitting there the whole flight, and I was stretched out.
Oh, well, there you go.
Tactical seat planning.
Yeah,
there,
very good. I'm impressed, though not surprised, Martin. Have you heard of Airwork Holdings?
I've heard of Airwork, but not of the greater group. I never really thought much about them. I know they got that freighter 737, don't
Yeah, you see that up in Auckland.
Yeah.
They got 9
they? I didn't
737s.
realise they had 9.
300s for freight over in Aussie and some for passenger charters. That's not bad.
It's a big fleet, isn't it?
I see they're talking about maybe listing on the NZX. How would an aviation company go on the NZX?
I
do you
don't
think?
know.
It's not like a mainstream stock, is it?
No, you'd probably want to list in Aussie, actually, because they're more into that type of thing, aren't they?
Yeah. Do we describe it as irrational exuberance around the share market at the moment? It's gone ballistic, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it crashed only 25, 26 years ago.
Badly.
Yeah, and that's long enough for everyone's memory to stretch out and for the new people to never have experienced
Well,
it.
it does go in cycles, doesn't it?
So anyway, $100 million business, and it's good to know about these businesses because they do go a bit under the radar. Started by a guy, Hugh Jones, from the Manawatu farming family in the Manawatu. Got his first job at an aviation company in Whanganui. Got into the helicopter parts business on the back of the deer hunting.
Okay.
Done with helicopters. That was a huge boost to
Yeah, I remember when I was a
Helicopter
kid,
flying.
you'd National Geographic, they'd show these helicopters flying around the South Island trailing
Yeah.
lines full of dead deer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did they still do it?
I think culling goes on, but not like
Not like
the
that.
hunting like that. It was very unsafe. Lots of people died.
Sure it
Crash
was.
died. Yeah.
Pretty unsafe for the deer as well.
Yeah. Well, yes. It's not very fair, is it? First of all, you freak them out by hovering about 20 feet above them, and then blow them to pieces. The company now owns 29 helicopters. Yeah. So look out. That could be a stock on the NZX.
Yeah. Will you be buying?
Well, I don't know. Have I got any money? Hardly.
No.
I don't know. But, aviation won't go away.
No.
And it's pretty good performance so far.
And they've got as big a fleet of 737s as Air New Zealand now has.
There you go. And an Air New Zealand flight from Auckland to Wellington cancelled on the morning of October 8th. Nose wheel problem noticed on taxi out. Good that they noticed it there, because remember the JetBlue A320 at Los Angeles with the sideways nose wheel?
Yeah, it still came down all right, though, didn't it?
Wow. I saw pictures of it afterwards, and it just literally ground the thing down
Yeah.
to just a stub and a bit of a wheel left.
Is that because the wheel turns through 90 degrees to be retracted or something, or is that just
I don't know.
I know they can
It had happened before.
they can take on incredible steering angles.
Yeah. I think it goes up with the wheels straight, but maybe because it's got little hydraulic rams that push the thing backwards and forwards for steering, right? The thing about that JetBlue incident was that, and I've been on JetBlue, you've got DirecTV and you've got CNN,
Yeah.
and they were watching
They're watching
CNN's
themselves.
coverage of themselves coming in for the emergency landing. That's a 21st century
Yes.
First world problem, isn't it?
Yeah. Nice one to have.
We were talking before we started the program. You're telling me about Norwegian.
Yeah. The problems they've been having with maintenance. They're using the 787 to launch their international service, so they're flying to JFK, they're flying to the West Coast, and they're flying to Asia.
Right.
And they've had a pretty poor dispatch record. Lots of flights cancelled to the extent that they took one out of service and basically sent it back to Boeing.
Wow.
Which
Grumpy.
Not happy.
Really quite grumpy.
Lots and lots of smallish problems, hydraulic pumps failing, electrical problems. And the interesting thing with Norwegian is their maintenance, they've subcontracted their entire maintenance to Boeing through a program called Boeing Gold Care.
Gold Care.
And even Boeing can't keep the thing in the air.
Sounds like something that GM would do.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Gold Care.
Gold Care.
And even they can't.
Even they can't do it.
Mind you, that would suggest the things you named there, like faults with bits of equipment. I mean, that's not necessarily Boeing's fault. That's subcontractors, maybe manufacturing or their product standards are low.
Yeah, but
and stuff's getting through that shouldn't before it gets to the assembly point,
But that's Boeing's responsibility. Boeing, as the integrator, their job is to sign off on all the designs, go through the test results, do the quality control.
Right.
They've had to redesign this one particular hydraulic pump, so there was obviously a problem with it. They've had to change the design. And what's really upsetting Norwegian is they were promised the ability to use this plane 18 hours a day, which was very optimistic.
So that's part of the business model.
Part of the business model. And
that is very optimistic.
Yes, but Boeing went ahead with it. And one of the simple problems is that Boeing had all their spare parts based in London, and so it was taking 2 or 3 hours to get anything once it went wrong.
Yes,
and their main maintenance base is in Stockholm, not in Norway. So Norway would have to ferry the plane to Stockholm to get it fixed with parts coming in from London, if they came in from London.
Too much.
Yes, it hasn't worked. And so now Boeing's putting a whole bunch of spare parts in Stockholm and putting, I think they've got 18 Boeing staff to carry out the maintenance now, and they're beefing that up with another 4 or 5 people.
Whoa. Okay. But that requires a serious effort. I mean, those people... Boeing have that, don't they have that crack squad that goes out into the field? That
Yes, that's only if it's broken, like there's been needs real fixing, structural.
They're a reasonable sized customer, aren't they?
Yes, they've taken, I think, 9. And well, they're a huge Boeing customer. They've ordered 200 Boeings.
Bloody hell.
Yes, they're a big airline.
Yeah.
They're actually a very big airline.
And wealthy country.
A very wealthy country.
So don't underestimate it.
So you think that Boeing's committed more people to Norwegian Air Shuttle. They've had to commit people to the Japan market. They've had to commit people to Poland. So they're going to have people running around all over the place.
So you don't hear anything from United?
No.
You don't
Although
hear...
lots of delays.
Really?
Lots of delays. The plane currently has a dispatch rating of 94%.
Yeah, well, that's lower than...
Very low.
They like it around 98, 99, don't they?
Well, the A380 entered service with a dispatch reliability of greater than 98.5.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And still no news of that Ethiopian 787 that burnt the hole in itself with the... Apparently, now they're saying, apparently the emergency locator beacon. Because that still hasn't come out as the actual cause.
Well, how does that catch on fire?
Well, they haven't issued the final report, and it's still sitting in Heathrow going nowhere.
And how could it be so hot to burn through the skin?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not just a little electrical short, is it?
And 2 ANA 787s returned to base yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One had an electrical problem, the other one had a de-icing problem. None of them huge. They all flew off again in 2-3 hours later.
Yeah, but niggle.
Well, the one was electrical problem. It lost all power in the toilets and galleys.
Not good.
And the other one had an indication that the de-icing wasn't working.
Oh, dear. Okay, you could probably still put that down to teething problems of a new type.
Been in service 2 years now.
But, it's
a long time.
And with the delay in getting them and business models stretched out way beyond planning, you can see how people freak out. Wasn't there an incident with an Air India 787 that people refused to get on?
Yeah, some passengers refused to get on it.
What was the problem with that one? I don't remember.
Well, there was no problem. They just refused to get on because they thought it was unsafe.
Oh, okay. Because the bad publicity.
Yeah, they weren't flying on it.
All right. The 787-9 and the Bombardier C-Series flew on about the day we recorded the last program we did. Since then, they've been flying around and people have been getting pictures and we're sort of seeing how they look. That C series looks very cool.
It's a great looking little plane, isn't it?
It looks like a little big plane.
Yes, yes. Big diameter fans.
And those are those geared turbo fans.
Yes.
How do they work again?
Well, actually, there was a plane that had a geared fan on it already. That was the BAE 146.
Oh, really?
Yes. The fan was geared because that was a helicopter engine.
The Lycoming, weren't
The
they?
Lycoming, yeah. It was, the core was from a helicopter engine.
Yeah.
And to get the fan going around at the right speed, they put a gearbox on it. So that was a geared turbofan, but obviously it was early days, and they didn't use it to maximize the size of the fan,
No.
as they've done on Pratt & Whitney. These new geared turbofans from Pratt & Whitney,
Twice the size,
they've got a huge fan and a
Yeah.
very, very hard-working gearbox. They put a lot more power through the gearbox.
Yeah, well, of course, the 146, people used to say they had hair dryers hanging off the wings, which is a bit unfair, I suppose.
That's 30
and
years ago.
they were difficult to they had maintenance issues, didn't
Well,
they?
lots of engines.
Well,
yeah.
But that technique of doing the gearbox, running the gear. Were the gearboxes reliable? I guess they were.
I was speaking to a guy from Lufthansa once, and a senior manager at Lufthansa, and he said the problem with the BAE 146 was that the passengers loved them, and the airlines hated them.
Oh dear, the worst of all worlds.
Yeah.
Well, we used to fly them here, of course.
Yeah.
They are very comfortable.
And there's still a few flying around. You still see them at lots of airports in Europe.
So the C series, it's a difficult area to compete in. There's quite a few. There's Embraer.
Yeah.
There's ATR.
Yes,
Yeah.
turboprops.
I mean, they are traditionally big regional, but they've completely dissed the T-tail and the engines at the back now. They're gone,
Yes.
right?
Well, they had
But
to, because
the geared turbofan will work well up high.
yes, but they're quite beefy because the gearbox adds a bit of weight to it, and it doesn't work on the
you can't
smaller
have it down
engines.
the back.
Those RJs had quite small engines. They weren't very nice planes to fly in,
No.
because they were basically business jets made very, very long.
Especially that long one that could take
Yeah.
100 people.
The 900 and
I flew
1,000.
on one of them once.
Yeah, they're not nice.
They yaw around. And,
That's where Embraer came and cleaned up with the E170, 190, 195. That's a great plane.
Those are the podded underwing, right?
Yeah,
Is there enough clearance on those for geared turbofans? That'd be the next.
they're
logical
talking of it.
We were speculating a while back whether one of the Japanese airlines would go Airbus with the A350. Hey, guess what?
Ta-dang.
Bing bong.
Yeah.
JAL though,
Yeah.
because of course ANA, they operate A320s, A321s, don't they?
Very few, though. Yes,
is
they
it?
do a few.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they would have been the logical ones.
You would have thought, because they were the ones everyone was talking about ordering, but JL, 31.
Yeah.
Mixture of 900s and 1000s.
The CEO said that it was good to have aircraft from both manufacturers.
Yeah, and he's an ex-747 pilot, and they had him over in Toulouse flying the A380, which of course donates most of the systems to the A350 are very similar to those in the A380. So they had him flying around, or flying the
Right.
A380, and they took him for a ride in the A350, and they came back and made their decision, which
So,
is pretty huge,
Must have
actually.
liked it, eh?
Well, considering that, I tried to work it out the other day, considering that 21% of the value of the development funding for the 787 was provided by the Japanese government
Whoa.
in direct subsidy to Japanese industry.
Gosh, they don't muck around.
No, they don't muck around. But,
Is that good though?
well, probably not, no. Because
Well,
they ended up locked into one supplier for years and years, and it hasn't done them any
Yeah,
good.
but they might think that they can piggyback off their smarts and develop their own industry.
Well, interesting enough, Boeing let them build the wing, which Airbus has said they'll never let anybody outside the Airbus group build the wing for their
But
planes.
isn't Boeing saying from now on with this new production technique that they've got for wing making that they'll be making their wings in house, like
Well,
in secret almost?
I think now particularly that ANA or that JL have gone and ordered Airbus products, yes.
Yeah.
Because 35% of the weight of the 787 is produced by Japanese manufacturers, which is the same proportion as Boeing produces
Yeah.
itself.
So whose is it really?
Yeah.
How do you think the Americans take that? How dare they?
Yeah, well they'll get all how do you say there'll be a lot of retribution now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll make them pay.
Make them pay.
Yeah, for not being loyal.
Yeah.
All right. Now, as far as gadgets are concerned, we usually talk about mobile phones and things like that. This is still a gadget, right?
A gadget.
But it's like an aerial gadget.
It's a flying gadget.
flying gadget.
Yeah,
That's
a bit
the
more
best
than a
of,
gadget.
The best of all worlds.
Yeah, no, when I was in the UK I caught up with an old school friend.
Yeah.
And he was very busy, so he said, listen, why don't you just tag along with me for the afternoon? And because he was off to go and see this guy down in a barn near a town called Alton in Hampshire.
Yeah.
He went into the barn, and there was this Kiwi guy, although everyone says he's Australian. He's actually Kiwi. He's from just on the south shore of Manukau Harbour, looking
Yep.
towards the airport.
Yep.
And he's made this thing he's calling the Airbike, which is, it has a saddle. It has at the moment, it has a BMW Boxer motorbike engine in it. And where the wheels would normally be, he's got two sort of horizontal fans similar to the Martin jetpack.
Yeah, wow.
And he's he's built this prototype that he reckons will be far more maneuverable than the jetpack, and far simpler to fly than the jetpack, and far more useful than the jetpack. He wants to be able to use it, wants to make it as maneuverable and as useful for things like cattle mustering and that type of thing, where he thinks it'll be far safer because the fans are shrouded.
Yeah.
And he's got this thing to tethered flying stage, and he's also got a quarter-scale radio-controlled model which he flies around.
Wow.
And he's moved it over to the UK to try and get a bit of investment interest, investor interest.
How's it going?
It's early days yet. He'd only been there for 2 weeks.
You get on it like a bike.
You get on it, you sit on it like a motorbike.
And you just sort of like
got
take
4 legs
off the ground.
You open the throttle, takes off.
Wow. And then you just blatter
You
out.
push the handlebars forward, you go forward.
Whoa.
You pull the handlebars from side to side, or you tilt them from side to side. That takes you left or right. And you pull the handlebars back, and it'll take you backwards, and you manage your height and everything with the throttle.
Incredible. That would just be so much fun.
It would be so much fun.
I'd love to do that.
Yes.
With digital stuff, you could probably build a stability.
That's where they're going now. He's talking to a software designer.
It'll be solid as a rock.
And the actual stability will be automatic.
Yeah.
So it'll be basically fly by wire.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, so if people want to look that up, what should they search online?
He doesn't have his own web page yet, but if you just
someone will be talking about
if you just do a search on airbike or flying motorcycle, and he wants to use commercial off-the-shelf components for this, for the gyros and that, he reckons one that would be in a current mobile phone would be enough to keep it stable.
Gee, that's amazing. Okay, just don't call while you're flying.
No.
All right, so we'll be back in a couple of weeks with more. So in the meantime, me, Paul Brennan, here in Wellington.
And me, Martin Noakes, also in Wellington.
See you later.
Cheers.